Hey everybody, Brian Good here. Sorry this is so late. I already taped the whole thing once and then the whole system crashed. It is not like it when I talk too much. It's sensitive. Apparently it's not a snow fan. Alright. A lot to discuss, and so let me get right to it so I don't get cut off. First off, snowfall to date, that has been updated. We picked up 0.7 officially, Louisville International, from the morning event, and then we had the afternoon snow showers that pushed us up to 0.8 now. It's also our season total. Normal to date, nearly 4 inches, so yeah, we're behind. But compared to last year, the only thing still on the table was the November snow event of 3.7. We did not get measurable snow again until the 23rd of January last year. On the board tonight, 3 items that I have on there. One will be Tuesday, Friday to Saturday. We'll cover that, hopefully. And then 19th through the 21st. Earlier today, producing that snowfall around the area, first snow for a lot of us. And now we are waiting for this next system that's going to move in from the Great Lakes. It's another Clipper-type Arctic front that'll move in. Notice there's nothing in between. That is our weather tonight and tomorrow. So we're going to get a break before we deal with that system on Tuesday. Now, the problem tonight, several things that we're dealing with. First off, we've had snow that fell, so we got a snowpack in some areas. And now we're getting a clear sky that is sweeping through. We're clearing out west to east. So now we have to figure out how low are we going to go temperature-wise. In some areas, look at that, Paoli is down to 4 for the moment, 8 in Salem, 7 in Litchfield, and 14 here in Louisville. What we have going on is typical setup for what we call the cold nights to develop here when you have radiational cooling that takes place. You relax the winds, you get clear sky, you get a snowpack, classic setup to really send that thermometer plummeting, and models don't always pick out on that idea. That's just where human meteorologists come into play. We pick out on it and we adjust. You can see what's happening where we're talking about 2 to 3 inches of snow that has fallen from last night in this morning's event. That's where the coldest numbers are taking place. I'm going to lower the number in Louisville because we're already below what the models indicate. You'll see that in a second. How low is going to be a tough one because the metro is always the heat island effect. It's always tough to really gauge how low we're going to go. I think 10 to 12 will be a common theme. I was going to go 9. I'm going to go 10. The reason why it's a tough one because we got a south wind that is not kicking up. Southwest wind. It's a warming wind. So we're actually trying to warm up things. At the same time, the ground is telling the atmosphere to do the opposite and cool down. So the two are battling out, and the models are really struggling here. So lows are going to be a challenge. The Triple R model, the rapid refresh, it's got single digits on there, but it's really got like a poor grid. It's not picking on the fine details, that snowpack. And the RPM model is really not doing great. In fact, it warms us up around 6 a.m. to 17 degrees because it's betting on the southwest wind. It doesn't really see the snow on the ground. So again, that's where I'm going to cut. We're going to see a drop here. I'm going to balance it out. We'll see a drop, and then we'll begin to moderate that southwest flow. So I'll adjust this number. Right now I got it at 12, but I'll change it for the news starts. You see the range in the outline areas, though, 4, like Paoli, to 16. Just depends on where you are. So here are the potential wind gusts along with the radar and the satellite for tomorrow into Tuesday. So we got a south wind tomorrow. That's going to warm us up. I don't know if we'll get to the freezing mark here in the city, and especially Indiana. With that snowpack, it's going to be a struggle. But it is going to add some moisture to the atmosphere throughout the day tomorrow and tomorrow night. Same time, that Arctic front dives in. Just like what we would see with a cold front with thunderstorms, you're going to have some moisture available, but you don't have a lot of moisture. You got some, and you got really cold air that's racing in here. So a tight temperature gradient develops. So we'll begin to see snow showers break out along the actual boundary itself tomorrow night, closer to midnight and through 3 a.m. Indiana, you're most at risk to see that break out first. It doesn't look to be very squally, snow squalls initially. That'll happen as we get closer to sunrise. We're going to see the radar light up. You can see these darker blues showing up, little bands. And this is where it's going to be a challenge. Let me stress that this is a scenario where you could literally go from nothing, a dusting in some cases, to 2 to 3 inches of snow. And in some cases within the same county. So to draw a snow map in this kind of scenario is difficult because the models are not going to pick out on those little downbursts like you can see with a thunderstorm in the summertime. You know how it is. Sometimes you can see the thunderstorm down the road and it never gets to your backyard. But you can see the lightning in the black sky in the distance. But somebody's getting it, but it's not you. Same scenario with these snow squalls tomorrow. Some areas are going to get really pounded with some intense snowfall for a brief period of time. Visibility is going to be bad because the winds, again, gusting over 30 miles per hour. And then you're going to have some areas that see hardly anything at all. It's not an easy forecast, but we know that it doesn't take much snow to cause problems around here. We saw that today. And that's my fear is it will cause problems tomorrow or into Tuesday. Now, if the timing holds out and it's going to generate a little more ahead of the front when the sun comes up, that would put us a little bit past rush hour. So the school is going to have a tough decision. I think we'll be able to get into rush hour. The question is, how will rush hour progress into lunchtime? That is the period that could be most dangerous on travel, and it's going to be a tough call on that end of things when it comes to schools and stuff and travel in general. So hopefully we have a clear idea tomorrow at this time of how this is going to play out. But that's the latest thinking, and then the winds remain gusty Tuesday night. Here's the NAM model when it comes to instability. It's picking up a little bit of instability here across north central Kentucky and southwest areas of Ohio. Again, the radar is going to have very much a spiral band look to it. When you look at it on satellite and the radar, these little bands, little squall lines, if you will, but it's all snow that move through. Here is the sounding, the NAM model. You read this right to left, by the way. And what I'm looking at here, snow ratios, because 1 inch of rain typically equals 10 inches of snow in a 32-degree temperature scenario, right at freezing. But the colder you can get more snow out of the moisture. So the ratios go up, 12 to 1, 15 to 1, 20 to 1. And this system here tells me the forecast ratios, and it's averaging about 12 to 1. So there's not a lot of moisture to work with, but enough that this particular sounding from the NAM from Louisville is spitting out maybe about an inch of snow. When you look at the GFS, it takes its ratio up to about 15 to 16 to 1. It climbs rapidly toward the very end as the cold air rushes in and we drop quite a bit. Keep in mind, we're already going to start off tomorrow colder than expected, where the models are indicating. So they're already off track with the lows tonight. So we could have snow ratios that are closer to the reality of 15 to 1 than the entire event and not 12 to 1. So the models could already be off track on that idea and likely will be. So that's something we have to factor in tomorrow or into Tuesday as well. Then we get into the system for the weekend. We'll get to that here in a second. All right, here's the SRAF model. Again, we're looking at the black line. That's the average of all the ensemble ideas of how much could fall. And even the black line is only giving us 1/10 of an inch of snow. Highest potential on the models is about a little more than a 1/2 inch. So the SRAF for Louisville is not very excited about measurable snow, but it doesn't mean that we can't see 2 to 3 inches in some areas. In fact, when you look at the model projections, GFS and Euro, not very impressed. They have the poorest grid right now that we have available, so that's the reason why I think it's broad brushing. It doesn't see the snow squalls at all. I can't pick out those little details that make a big difference. The NAM can, and it hints at it, 1 to 2 inch totals in the lighter blue. And then you got the RPM where it's going lighter blue to darker blue, which would be over 2 inches. And it's picking up on the squall potential. So I think the RPM has got a pretty good idea on the potential that we could face. So having said that, I've drawn a snow map. But I got to stress that I'm doing this to show you that we're going to have bands of snow that's going to be very challenging to forecast the location. But don't hold this in stone, because we're really not going to have a good handle on this, guys, until we get to Tuesday. Until we know the timing of the front and where the likely squalls will develop, we're really going to have a tough time narrowing down who has the best chance to see the most intense snow bands. It's going to be a nowcasting event. But in general, there is going to be the potential for 1 to 3 inches in our viewing area. We know that potential is there. We just got to figure out where, and we're not going to know that till last minute. All right, then we get into the weekend. It is showing on, here's the GFS, Euro, and here is the Canadian. Here are the ensembles of those at the bottom row. They all agree that we're going to see a warming trend by Friday. How much? Still questionable, but enough to get us to rain to start off with a southern stream system moving in, and we've got cold air moving in with a northern branch feature at the same time. Here's the question. Which one's going to be dominant, the northern branch or the southern branch? Or do they phase into one large storm? And that is something that we see common around here, and the models are having a field day with it. At this point, though, the trend is to start with rain Friday. Then as we head into Saturday, is to go to snow. But keep in mind, the Euro here and the Canadian, much more aggressive with a phased system and or northern branch feature, while the GFS is trying to focus a little more on the southern stream, and the ensembles really don't paint a clearer picture for us. So a lot of questions on how this is going to evolve Friday into Saturday, so stay tuned. WPC is monitoring it as well. They got 10 to 20% chance of a 3-inch snowfall or more for northern Kentucky and Indiana from Friday to Saturday, so we'll see. Then as we get into next week, 19th to 20th, another southern branch feature, same deal. A lot of Arctic air at play. Question is it phased or does it stay suppressed? Don't know the answer. We just know that there is a ripple in the water, if you will, coming our way at that point. And the ensembles do show that down the road here later in January, a lot of cold air. Question is, are we going to get a ridge here in the west coast, or is it going to be broke down in the Aleutian Islands here of Alaska, which is where the GFS and the Canadian or the Euro are heading to? In fact, anytime we've seen the AO, by the way, our oscillation try to dip and then climb back up, same thing with the NAO, you get a big storm. In some cases, you get blizzards on the East Coast. So It's a very active, very intense pattern, but don't pay attention to model specifics. Look at the pattern. Active flow to the south, Arctic air at play. It's all about phasing, and the models are going to have a field day. They're going to flip all over the place until we get closer to each one of those events. All right, that's it, guys. I got it under the wire. I'll talk to you at 11, and I'll see you tomorrow night.